Hi guys, it's me, your motivator as usual, Francisco. On the day I'm recording this episode, we celebrate Mother's Day here in Funchal, and also the flower parade is happening as a part of the flowers festivities. Madeira Island, for those who never been here, is a really beautiful place. It's no wonder they call it the Atlantic Pearl. I can assure you that this island of mine has an energy that it's different from any other place I visited in the world. You have to come here to feel what I'm trying to tell you. We have beautiful forest and, of course, many flowers. The Flower Festival is an event that lasts for 4 days with an exhibition of natural flowers from the island, floral carpets, music and, of course, the flower parade. This festival began in 1954 when a club, let's call it like that, organized an event where people could exhibit their flowers, culminating in a reward for the best ones. It was such a success that this event continued to be held annually until 1979, when the government took over the responsibility for this festival. In one of these flower exhibitions, there's a flower mural next to Funchal City Hall called Wall of Hope. I don't know why it's called like that, but all the children go there on a Saturday morning to place a flower on that mural. I think all the boys and girls born here in Funchal have already gone there to put a flower on a Saturday morning. I didn't investigate the name of this Wall of Hope, but what I was told when I was a child is that the purpose of this wall is to create a better world for all of us. I would prefer that this wall be called the Wall of Faith rather than hope. As I usually say, hope means we are waiting for someone that may not happen, while faith is the absolute certain that will happen. Well, this is me saying it, so it is what it is. What's certain, and it's good to empathize, is that since I was a child, this wall full of beautiful flowers entered my subconscious, and the phrase "to create a better world" has always stayed there. Since January of this year, we've constantly talking about people who have contributed to making the world a better place. Even if it was their own world, almost all of these heroes, whom I deeply admire, start from the place where they were born and raised. In the last episode, we talked about a king, King David, and today I'm talking to you about another king. Not a king with a royal title, but a king who, although he has already died, continues to transmit his faith to his Brazilian brothers and sisters and beyond. The 3-time Formula 1 champion, one of my heroes since the late 80s, the great Ayrton Senna. He was always someone who brought great joy to the Brazilian people. Firstly, with the victories in the Sunday races after lunch, in the Portugal time zone, and then, after his death, providing conditions for everyone to have the chance to succeed in their lives. One of the Ayrton's dreams was to help his people so that everyone could have the same opportunities to succeed in life. The right to have a future and to have hope, to change the scenario of Brazil. His sister Viviane Senna turned this dream into reality with the creation of the Ayrton Senna Institute. In 2024, this institute celebrates 30th anniversary and works to transform thousands of lives. This is what greatness is all about. Continuing the dream of a racing champion, but also a champion of life. It has been 30 years since his death on May 1st, but his legacy is very much present in Brazil and also in my heart. Ayrton for me is a flower that will always be placed in my wall of hope, and like him, I want tomorrow to be better than today. I hope to convey to you the energy that he transmits to me every day. As beautiful as my beautiful Madeira Island. This is the David and Goliath podcast, and I will tell you real stories from normal people who had great mighty wars and defeated their giants. In the introduction, I told you something that isn't correct. I said that Ayrton was my favorite Formula 1 driver since the late 80s of the last century. I mean, my favorite driver was a Brazilian, but it wasn't Ayrton, it was Nelson Piquet. I only started to like and root for Ayrton in a Formula 1 Grand Prix in Brazil 1991. It was in that race that I saw the true hero he was. He won that race 33 years ago with the gearbox stuck in the 6th gear. That means to keep the car on track, he had to endure tremendous physical strain, as the evidence in the videos from then. He achieved what many couldn't do. From that day on, he became my favorite. Every Sunday, after lunchtime, the TV channel was always tuned to the Formula 1 race. And there I was, always cheering for Ayrton Senna da Silva. In the 1993-1994 season, he left McLaren and went to the great and all-powerful Williams team. At the time, Williams had been the Constructors' champion in the previous season and therefore had all the conditions to be champions again, or so I thought. Senna couldn't get the best out of the car, so it was a surprise for me to see Schumacher win almost all the races at the beginning of that season. Until that cursed day on May 1st, 1994, at Imola Grand Prix. That weekend, in the qualifying section, there had already been a dramatic accident involving Ruben Barrichello and the death of Roland Ratzenberger. At the start of the race, a tire hit a spectator in the stands, and it seems like the bad things wouldn't stop there. And yes, the worst was yet to come. Ayrton was in the lead from the first lap. The Williams was very good on this type of tracks, where speed is a fundamental characteristic. On the 7th lap, my champion was still in the lead until the car's steering column locked, and he went straight into the concrete wall at 300 km per hour, causing his death. I was at a friend's house studying for a physics exam. It was Sunday, and it was a beautiful sunny afternoon. The accident had already happened, but I thought, although it was a dramatic accident, it would be okay. Just like with so many others, it was just a dramatic accident, nothing more, I thought. In the middle of the afternoon, we turned on the TV, and the news came immediately that Ayrton hadn't survived the accident and had died. He wasn't a close family member, but he was a person close to my heart. On that day, I cried, just like millions of people who loved Ayrton. From that day until 2016, I stopped following Formula 1 races and never wanted to know about this sport again. It wasn't funny anymore, until one day, last year, I went to learn more about Ayrton, not as a driver, but as a person. And guess what? He continues to be my champion. At the beginning of last year, everything was dark around me. There was no light or anything to guide me out of the immense loneliness and sadness. On one of those days, when I was grappling with my agony and solitude, I decided to listen to a Brazilian podcast called Primcast. And who was the guest? Viviane Senna, Ayrton Senna's sister, president of the Ayrton Senna Institute. To my surprise, she leads an institute whose main objective is to bring education to thousands of people so that everyone has the same opportunities to be champions in life, in any area of life. 2 months before his death, Ayrton shared with his sister the desire to do something great for the future of the Brazilians, especially for children and young people. Combining the pilot's dream with what Viviane was working on, human development in the field of psychology, she decided to create this institute after her brother's death. Ayrton dream in action. In 1994, the year of the champion's death, 20% of the Brazilian population did not able to read. Education was Brazil's biggest problem. In 2022, the literacy rate was 5.6% in the Brazilian population. That is, 10 million Brazilians couldn't read or write. Just to give an idea of the enormity of literary people, 10 million is the population of Portugal. That's a lot of people. Surely the Institute has to contribute to this huge decrease in Brazil since 1994. What made me even more impressed with all of this is the different way of thinking and acting. If you take a look at the Institute website, you will read the following. An education that prepares only for academic or professional success will not be able enough to ensure autonomy to make purpose choices that result in a better life for each one and for the world. More than expanding time in school, it is essential to expand development opportunities that look at the human being as a whole. And you also continue to read. The Institute believes that every student has the potential to transform their reality and change the world. And to make this happen, it is fundamental to ensure that their full development through integrational education. When a teacher or a school system implements a proposal for integral education, they value the student in all their potential, recognize the diversity of ways of being, and ensure to each one opportunities for international development. So what is integral education? It's hard to explain in a concise way, but I will try in summary way. Fully developing the student in all their dimensions, such as intellectual, physical, emotional, motivational, among others, providing opportunities for them to build their life projects. What is important to them, as well as their challenges, interests, identity, prepare them to make choices and gradually achieve autonomy. Preparing teachers, self-awareness, life projects, which means space for reflection and construction, so that the student can get to know themselves better and establish relevant interests, dreams, and future objectives, both from professional, personal, collective perspective. Autonomy. It must create opportunities and open paths for young people to have the necessary tools to make choices and outline future plans autonomously based on fundamental values for the individual. In other words, what should have been done for the past 40 years. This is how Viviane has been combating the Brazilian Goliath that was, or still is, the lack of education of the Brazilian people. As she herself says, it's not been donating a certain amount of money that will change the educational path of the children, or being by the building newer schools. If we don't get to the heart of the problem and solve the reasons so that we can improve the life and future of the children, the lack of education will persist and the country will continue to be a poor country. Ray Dalio says that when we fall, we have to go analyze the roots of the problem, face them head on, and come up with an action plan to solve the problem and then reach a higher level of our evolution. Well, that's what the Institute has been doing, coming up with a plan action for the children education, so there is no loss of time because for children, this time is too important to be wasted. The website says the following also. Ayrton Senna dreamed of a country where everyone knew victory and more opportunities. And how has this been done? As you are following, through education. Greatness is when someone continues the work of their creator. Ayrton Senna, the three-time champion, continues to be champion even though he is not physically among us. His sister is implementing his dream, his vision, and would have thought on the other side of the Atlantic, without knowing that is being done in Brazil, continues to inspire someone, not only because of his life example on the tracks, but also in wanting to leave this place better when he arrived. This being great, just like King David, or just like Vitor Cardoso, and all the other people I have talked about on this podcast. Well, fortunately, the educational problems in Brazil are not the same as here in Portugal. But looking closely, the way things are done, the way teaching is carried out, has remained the same for 40 years. And why do I say this? As you know, I have 3 daughters. At this stage of my life, I've been more closely following the journey of the 2 youngest ones. And I see that they continue to do the same things in school as they did in my time. Although the textbooks have improved, the physical conditions are not the same as they were in my time, the way education is conducted remains the same. We don't explain the reasons behind the things. For an example, how trigonometry is very useful for our practical lives, how it was used to measure the distance between Earth and the Moon, and how it's used in many things. We don't motivate children to learn, to simulate their creativity. We continue to treat kids as if they were all the same. And anyone who deviates from the norm is strongly criticized or, even worse, reprimanded. Just like I was 40 years ago. At the end of March 2023, on a Friday, I gave a lecture at the school here in Funchal about financial literacy for children. I explained to the children what to do with money and not make the same mistakes I made. In short, I told them to use their talents to make money, which is the same thing my book says. In one of those lectures, there was a kid who was always joking around. I admitted I started to annoy me, but I made an effort not to let it influence me and continued. At the end of the lecture, I was meeting with some teachers and kids who wanted to know more about this subject when this kid appeared me and said to me, "Teacher, I don't know how to do anything other than make others laugh. My classmates call me a clown, and the teachers call me the court jester." I saw the fate he was stressing in his eyes. To him, he was just a nobody. I turned to him and asked why he didn't start recording the funny things he does. Why not make some videos and then, who knows, make money with it? I finished saying this, and his expression changed. Then he rushed out of the classroom where I gave the lecture. It gave me great joy to see him like that, and it still does when I think about the moment. To succeed in life, we have to accept ourselves, and we have to accept that we are all very different from each other. We have to let the brightness of others shine and let them work their magic in this world. Ayrton was a champion because he was different from others and he had the courage to show it to the world. I think you already know, but my sport is not racing, although I enjoy watching Formula 1, and even though I'm a Ferrari fan. But what I really love is basketball, as I've said hundreds of times. Why do I want to be a coach? Because of this too. To teach kids that it's okay to be different from each other. That by helping each other, we can be better people, and by becoming better people, we can improve the world we will live in. All these champions show just that. Being a coach, just like Ayrton and Viviane, believe that it's through education that we can improve our society. I believe I believe that through sports, we can educate true champions. How I loved watching Ayrton race. There was a Grand Prix done in Monaco in 1992 where he won. This race is a street race, making overtaking very difficult. He, Ayrton, went from second to first because Nigel Mansell, the driver leading the Grand Prix, had a bad pit stop, allowing Ayrton to take the lead. For almost half the race, Nigel tried to overtake Ayrton. I'm absolutely sure Ayrton was going to win because you could see from the outside that his focus was his greatest weapon. There are so many races we could talk about his greatness on the racetrack. But all of that has already been talked about and reported by so many people. And if I did it, I would be just one more that long list of people. I was truly amazed at how the Institute operates in Brazil. I was astonished to learn that Ayrton believed in the same things I believe in. Through education, we can help make this society a better society. Not only through the education of a standard curriculum, such as math, physics and other, but also through the personal development of each individual, knowing that each one is unique in this world. When I discovered this, I immediately had a strong desire to become a coach, and the dream of something greater so that I can leave this world better than when I arrived. If I had this education, I probably wouldn't have made the mistakes I made, and most likely, this podcast wouldn't exist. If I had this education 40 years ago, I would have accepted myself as I am, and I wouldn't have carried the immense guilt of my existence on my shoulders. You should have listened to the last episode, King David. But what does all this have to do with David and Goliath? I have said more than once that Goliath lives in each of us. And once again, it has everything to do with it. Most likely, we go through a lot of crap when we discover this, which was my case. How do I fight and combat my Goliath? Every day. I'm re-educating myself. There isn't a single day that I don't try to be better than I was yesterday. There isn't a single day that I don't tell myself that it's okay to be myself. That it's good to be myself. If I had known this from a young age, I wouldn't have made all of the half mistakes I made. And just like Ayrton, I want people to have the same opportunities to be happy and make this world much better than it is currently. To be champions in life. This is indeed my dream. Thank you, Ayrton. Thank you everything you left to us. In the future, we shouldn't have to put flowers on the walls of hope to have hope for a better world, but rather to live in a better world.